All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Today's topic is rethinking your favorite foods. Before we get started, just a couple of items to take care of. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. You can type those by clicking the Q&A section in the lower portion of your control panel. We will be posting a recording of the webinar on our blog. The link for that will be shown at the end. And if you'd like a PDF copy of the presentation, there will be a link to download that on that same post as the recording. And if your question does not get answered today, please email our support inbox, which will be shown at the end as well. So pretty simple for the agenda today. We're going to go over some foods organized by meals and highlight some typical choices that maybe could use a little improvement. And we'll find some ways to make it a little bit healthier. And I'll even share a few recipes for you guys to try. So with that, I'm going to jump right in with breakfast. Now, I know some of us are eating a quick, maybe not so good choice, and some of us aren't eating breakfast at all, right? Now, I don't want to get into the weeds with the topic of if breakfast is the most important meal of the day or not. And honestly, big picture, what you eat throughout the entire day is going to be the most important thing. But there are benefits to eating breakfast and making it healthy as well. First is just fuel. Food is our body and brain's fuel for the day, right? So eating something in the morning after we've fasted all night can help our bodies perform better physically and mentally. It can help with brain fog. It can help you be more alert, focused, in a better mood. And then there's just a simple fact that you're starting to get in those much needed nutrients at the beginning of your day. That's just going to make you healthier overall, right? So how can we rethink some of those breakfast choices? Like I said, I'm just going to go with some of the common breakfast items that we choose. Let's start with cereal. Morning staple for sure, right? Super easy. What can we eat instead of cereal that is a step in the right direction? Because cereal, sometimes it can be loaded with sugar. There's lots of things with cereal that we can maybe improve on. Oatmeal is one that we can use. Making our own old-fashioned or steel-cut oats is the best option, but there's actually some decent pre-made options on the market now as well. The thing you have to be careful of with that is the sugar content. They can still be added a lot of sugar with those pre-made options. Ideally, you'd opt for plain oatmeal, and then you can flavor it up yourself with fruit, with honey, with cinnamon, with nuts, nut butter. A lot of people that will do like a natural peanut butter with it. There's really all sorts of options. The other option with oatmeal is overnight oats. I'm going to give you a recipe here in a few minutes, but it's basically just mixing up the ingredients the night before, letting everything soak together overnight, and then it's ready to go in the morning. The same options can be used with yogurt if you're not an oatmeal fan. Plain Greek yogurt is probably the best option just because you get a good dose of protein with the Greek option, but really a plain yogurt, again, watching that added sugar content, really flavored with any of the same toppings as oatmeal is a really good step in the right direction if you're eating a big bowl of cereal right now. Grits is another one too, for those of you who maybe in our southern states or just who like this breakfast option. Grits can be healthy. There are a few different variations similar to oatmeal, and there is a best choice out of the different options. Stone ground is the healthiest type of grits because, like our steel cut and old-fashioned oats, the whole oat or kernel in the case of grits is left intact. So you just get a lot more nutrients because they're not refined down. They're not processed out, a lot of that good fiber and stuff. So grits absolutely can be healthy. Just be sure you're pairing them with healthier options as well. A lot of times, you can put syrups and sugars and things like that with them. So try to pair it with veggies or fruit or something a little bit healthier. And if you're not quite ready to take the leap from cereal and need a little stepping stone to start, let's talk about choosing a healthier cereal. I got a few guidelines listed here when looking to improve those options. First is looking for whole grains. You get more fiber and other nutrients like iron, magnesium, selenium, B vitamins when you opt for whole grain versus refined, which takes away a lot of those benefits through processing, like I mentioned with the grits as well. Whole grains also break down slower in our bodies, helping us feel fuller longer. It's the fiber that keeps us full. So looking for at least 2.5 grams of fiber per serving is kind of the recommendation out there. Low sugar content is next, and that's a big one. With any food, we need to really watch the sugar. There's a lot of added sugar in a lot of the cereal choices out there. Ideally, we'll have less than 6 grams of added sugar. Ideally zero, but being realistic, less than 6 grams. And again, added sugar is sugar that doesn't come from a natural source like fruit. Most labels have added sugar on the actual label. Now, if you're significantly above this now, all you have to do is work your way down, right? Small steps. A good rule of thumb is don't pick a cereal that has sugar listed in the top 3 ingredients. Ingredients are listed in order of most to least, so looking for sugar to be well down that list is another way to just kind of be mindful. Lower sodium is also something to keep in mind. Less than 140 milligrams will help kind of keep that cereal a little less processed, and it's going to be typically healthier in general. Protein isn't something you necessarily think for cereal, maybe the milk that goes with it, but it's becoming more common to have protein in cereals. So if there are options that check all of the above boxes and also has some added protein, that's the one, right? And of course, we really need to pay attention to the serving sizes too. Most of us are probably getting 1.5 to 2 servings in a regular size bowl. So really keep that in mind when you're looking at those labels to see how much you're actually taking in of some of those ingredients. But again, there's good, better, best choices out there for cereals. So do some sampling, go from there. Toast and jam is a pretty common choice for breakfast as well. A couple easy swaps to make this a healthier choice. First is using whole grains or sprouted grain bread. This can cut down on sugars and add some great fiber and other nutrients, like I was mentioning with those whole grains. Jellies or jams, however you say it, can vary widely with sugar content. So you can either look for lower sugar options, which are out there, or swap completely and use toppings like avocado, hummus, eggs, and fruits and veggies. Less processed, more vitamins and minerals, same easy breakfast, not a hard swap when we're doing that. Stick with some more breakfast swaps here, and then I'll get to some recipes before we move on to lunch. I know it's hard to replace a donut, bagel, scone, etc. But this is a great opportunity to really cut out a lot of negative things and add in some good stuff. Now, there are healthier versions of donuts and bagels out there that you can make yourself. So if you really don't want to swap out, make your own version, that's totally fine. Do some online recipe hunting. Otherwise, I kind of just want to give some other directions here, some other options. For example, an apple and peanut butter, you're getting the fruit, you're getting some protein. String cheese is a good one, depending on how you feel about dairy. Eggs, hard-boiled egg or scrambled egg with veggies, nuts, homemade energy bars or energy balls, which I will have a recipe example here in a couple slides, smoothies, things like that. And to start, even if you can change your choices, even just 1 or 2 days out of the week, you're still on the right track, right? Like I say, progress over perfection. We don't need to be perfect every day, but if we can start to swap some better things in there, you're going to be on the right track. Speaking of progress, let's talk coffee, right? Black plain coffee, that's totally fine. Typically, there's some health benefits if you're drinking 2 to 3 cups a day, but we can get absolutely off the rails when it comes to going overboard with our morning caffeine, right? Our health can really take a beating from it. It's a great opportunity to improve some of our nutrition. The amount of sugar and other processed things, not to mention the damage it does to our wallet if we're buying these drinks, can be kind of ridiculous. So a baby step to start might be just to get a smaller size, right? Hey, that's a progress. That's getting that ball rolling. And then there's a ton of alternative flavorings that you can use yourself instead of sugar or other processed choices. So taking your normal coffee, that if you can make it at home, that's best. But spices like cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, vanilla extract, or vanilla bean even you can put in there. Unsweetened coconut or almond milk, or really any kind of milk. Peppermint oil is a good one, especially on the holidays. Unsweetened cacao powder. There's lots and lots of different ways that we can cut down on the amount of negative things we're getting in that coffee. I don't want to take it away from you, but we can certainly make it a better choice. Again, small changes with any of our breakfast items or any of our items in general that we're going to talk about today can really, really lead to big benefits in the long run. So take a look at your morning first and see what you can do. And like I promised, here's a couple recipes to take a look at. Now, I'm going to post these slides, like I said at the beginning, they're going to be posted on our blog. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the slides. So try not to, you don't need to write everything down. Just go ahead and come to or go to the blog that'll be linked at the end. But I'm going to start with overnight oats, which I mentioned as a substitute for cereal. Many, many variations to this. So just a simple one to start off with. All you do, take your ingredients minus the fruit, mix them up, throw them in a mason jar or other container that has a lid that's sealable. And you can throw the fruit on top after you mix it up. If it's more perishable, like bananas or apples, something like that, you might just want to wait till you eat it to top it. But again, just let that mixture sit overnight. It soaks together, the oats soak up the liquids. And then when you take it out in the morning, it's ready to go. You can heat it up if you want, or you can eat it cold. And then you top with any other toppings that you want, nuts, honey, anything like that. Next recipe is a breakfast smoothie. Again, there are, not exaggerating, a million variations to smoothie recipes out there, depending on your preferences for food. But I like this one because it's simple and has some good veggies and healthy fats included in it. Smoothies are great because you can make them ahead of time, do that little meal prep, grab them from the fridge and be on your way. So like I said, this one, spinach, banana and strawberries, pineapple for the sweetness, some milk to get some liquid in there, chia seeds, that's where we get that good healthy fat. Throw them all in a blender and away you go, right? And then the last breakfast recipe is homemade energy balls. I love these, not only for breakfast, but I actually eat them as a snack during the day. You get some protein, again, you got some healthy fats, you got a little bit of sweetness in there if you do the semi-sweet chocolate or whatever you want to do. And my kids really like them too. So it's a win-win if you've got kids out there, give them a try. Again, super easy. Mix the ingredients. There's some great flavoring options, coconut, those types of things, or you can add your own, find some other stuff. Stick it in the fridge for a bit, roll into balls, or you can make them into little bars too, whatever you want. These are good for a week in the fridge, or you can make a double or triple batch and they freeze really, really well too. And they thaw out and they're super good. So few options for breakfast there. Let's move on to lunch. Now, of course, I know I'm stating the obvious, but any of the breakfast options we talked about can be eaten for any meal, right? So don't forget that you don't have to have certain things for certain meals. But I just want to talk about some typical lunch choices next. I feel like a lot of the time when we think of lunch, we think sandwiches, right? Easy to make, quick, easy to pack if we're going to work, but we can make a few adjustments to that sandwich to help make them a little bit healthier. That bread, wrap, or bun can be loaded with extra, a lot of times refined carbohydrates that break down into sugars in our body. So let's talk about a couple things you can use to replace that part of the equation. Really any leafy green, lettuce, kale, cabbage, collard greens, Swiss chard are all great ways to make a wrap. And you're adding nutrients too, while like I said, getting rid of some of those refined and a lot of times overly processed things that come with buns or bread. You can also go with no bun or wrap at all, or even taking off the top of a bun can be a huge improvement. And that's what my next option is the deconstructed sandwich, really just the sandwich without the sandwich. So if you go to a majority of restaurants, sub shops specifically, many times you can get any sub option as a salad rather than a sandwich. This is a great way to get that sandwich flavor you like with all the toppings with much less of those refined carbs, again, that comes with a lot of the buns or tortillas. And like we talked about with the toast for breakfast, if you're not quite ready to get rid of the bun, going with 100% whole grain, sprouted grain options, Ezekiel bread is another option. Those are great steps as well. So if you're not ready to part with that bread, try going with some of those other choices. And then I like to do meal planning for lunches when I can. Salads, soups, different bowls, as they're kind of called now, with various ingredients, can really make your lunches that are a lot of times either last minute decisions that maybe aren't too great. You can really make those into some of the healthiest meals that you have throughout the week. So with that, let's get to a few recipes for you to try for some of these lunch options. The first one is a wrap. So like I mentioned, using leafy greens is a great way to healthify, if that's even a word, your meals. So this one uses collard leaves, but again, you can use any type of lettuce or leafy green that maybe you like. But it's really simple, right? You're making a wrap out of it. So you add, for this one, you're adding your hummus, your avocado, and then you add in your sliced veggies, whatever it is. Again, you can mix and match however you like it, wrap it up, and you're all set. Next is a taco meal prep bowl. So again, simple stuff. Act like you're making a taco, but then you're dividing those ingredients up into containers and then grab one for your lunch each day. You can substitute quinoa for rice in this one to change it up, and you can use any meat options, or you don't have to use a meat option at all. Again, we can mix and match. We can find things that we like and make it work and make things just a little bit healthier. Then my last lunch recipe is a mason jar salad. So this one specifically, if you're going to cook the chicken yourself, is a little bit more prep time, but you can use pre-cooked chicken, or you can omit that part and not use any meat. And again, use really any type of salad you want. So you divide it up, you toss it in the containers, and then shake it up when it's lunchtime, and you're good to go. Biggest note on these is to make sure you put the dressing on the bottom so it doesn't get soggy before you eat it. Just a little tip there. And then notice this recipe specifically has homemade ranch dressing as well. Ranch dressing can be very, very unhealthy, but this one, as you can see, Greek yogurt, almond milk, apple cider vinegar, and then some great spices and stuff and herbs. So this is a great way, again, even if you don't use this recipe, just the ranch dressing recipe itself can be a great swap for you, because you can use it for a veggie dip, other salad dip, however you may use it. Okay, last meal of the day, dinner or supper, depending on where you live, probably. This one I'm going to do more ingredient swaps instead of whole meal swaps, just because there's so much variation, right? Typically, that's our biggest variety that we have for meals. And again, feel free to use some of the healthier breakfast or lunch ideas for this meal too. But when we think of staple dinner ingredients, pasta is a big one that typically comes to mind, right? Now, many of you have probably heard the first tips for this one because it's getting pretty popular, but spaghetti squash and spiralized veggies are really good swaps for traditional noodles that tend to be a little bit on the unhealthy side. You can treat these like noodles, use your favorite sauce on them. Again, if you can find a lower sugar sauce, that's something else to kind of be mindful of. Now, this has become more mainstream, like I said, right? So there are actually some great frozen versions that are pre-made too. Just take a peek at that ingredients list to make sure that the veggie is the only ingredient, but it really takes out that prep time. Like I said, most of them are in the freezer section that I've found. Now, just a side note here, noodles don't necessarily, or veggie noodles don't always taste the same as regular noodles, right? I'm not going to try to make you think that it's going to taste exactly the same. So you need to be prepared. You need to be open-minded, but also the more you use these, your palate will get used to it. And obviously your health is going to be better off for it, right? So we have to be a little bit open-minded with that. And again, same with breads and stuff. If you want to put a step between you and those veggie noodles right away, opt for whole grain noodles as a stepping stone. And of course, watching the quantity, watching that serving size with all of this. So rice is a similar deal too. Brown, black, red, wild rice are going to pack in more nutrients than our regular white rice. We also have cauliflower rice as a good option to get in some different nutrients as well. You can make your own, or there are actually a lot of pre-made versions of this as well at the grocery stores. Quinoa is another alternative that still is going to have a lot of your carbohydrates, but it's got more protein typically, and it's got a similar texture to that rice. So again, just kind of swapping things, and again, watching the quantity. Potatoes. So overall, your baking potatoes are pretty nutritious typically, right? So I'm not going to say don't eat them, but what happens, similar to some of these other things like our noodles and our rice, we typically overdo the quantity, right? And we also tend to pair them with other starchy things that makes that overall carbohydrate content sneak a little bit too high, which again, if we have too many, carbs are great. We need carbs. But if we have too many, our body's going to store them as fat. And that's what we don't want, right? So opting for things like sweet potatoes to get in some other vitamins and minerals is one option. And then here comes that cauliflower again. You can create a cauliflower mash to swap in as well. And then, again, if you love your potatoes, I'm not saying they're not a good option, but really try to focus on that serving size. Simply lowering the amount you eat can be a step in the right direction. Like I said, that's not only with this, it's with the rice, it's with the noodles, it's with everything. Just being mindful of how much we're eating, slowing down when we're eating, that type of thing. All right, a couple other ingredient changes to give a try. Pizza crust, pizza. I mean, that's an easy one, right? That's a huge, easy meal that a lot of us do. But if we can take a little extra time, and it's not even that much longer, you can swap pizza crust for eggplants. You can make a cauliflower crust. You can make a sweet potato crust. Google any of those. And again, lots and lots of recipes. I'm going to have an eggplant one here in just a minute. And one swap I really like doing is stuffed peppers instead of like a burrito. So same type of ingredients, just packaged a little bit differently. And you can use tomatoes, you can use squash as your bowl as well. But again, just thinking outside the box a little bit with those normal foods. You're still going to get the same flavors, but you're going to make it a little bit healthier, which is our goal. And then last swap for dinner, using vegetable strips instead of noodles. So eggplant, squash are a couple big ones. Now, I know some of these things sound a little bit out there, but like I said, you don't have to do every swap that I say. And remember too, that your palate changes as you age, your taste buds change. So just because you didn't like something a few years ago, doesn't mean that you don't now. So really be open to giving things a try. And you really want to try different variations too, because one recipe is not the same as the other one. So if you don't like one that I shared today, try a different one. And if you still don't like it, don't worry about it. Nutrition is not about forcing yourself to eat all the foods that you don't like. It's about creating dishes with things that you do like that are a little bit healthier. All right, how about some recipes to try for dinners for this next week? First, I wanted to have a really simple one, how to cook spaghetti squash, because I get this question a lot. This is a really, really easy recipe. Cut it in half, bake it up, shred it with a fork. And then again, you can use your sauce. There's lots of great homemade sauces out there too, but just watch the sugar with your sauces. And then the next one is our eggplant pizza. It's so fun, so easy. All you do, use those same pizza ingredients, put it on an eggplant, and then you have some mini pizzas. And then you can use those for lunch too. Those are really good lunches. And then taco zucchini boats. So again, tacos, you're just making the same taco, but you use a zucchini as the shell. Again, super easy. And actually it ends up being not quite as messy because the shell's not going to break all over and spill your toppings. It's a lot more convenient of a bowl. So good stuff. Try, like I said, try different things, try new things, be open, and progress over perfection. Try one different meal, one healthier meal, and go from there. And you may have thought I've forgotten, but let's talk about snacks. So some of you may do great at your meals, but then the snackies get you, right? So I want to have a few options for some of those cravings. That crunch of chips or crackers is a big one. A few things to try: pepper strips, cucumber slices, carrot sticks. So again, different flavor, obviously, but you're getting that crunch. You can buy or make homemade veggie or fruit chips with lots of different types of fruits and veggies. And then ones that I really like, again, you can buy or make your own. Roasted chickpeas. They have flavored ones out there. You can flavor them yourself, like I said. Nuts, seeds can still give you that nice crunch as well. And then you can control, if you like the saltiness of it, you can add a little bit of your own within reason. and you're not getting that huge amount that you get a lot of times from the prepackaged options, right? So we can still make things a little bit better. Cookies are a big one too. Again, there's many recipes out there that tout healthier cookie options with different types of sweeteners like applesauce or bananas, which are really, really cool. So be on the lookout for those recipes out there. And then just those energy balls that I shared earlier are a great option too. And then candy, right? Straight sugar, pretty much, right? But some options to rotate into your plan can include, again, nuts, dried fruit, dark chocolate, like over 70%, I think is the recommendation of dark chocolate to get those health benefits. You don't have to not ever eat candy again, but eating it every once in a while versus every day can make that candy what it's supposed to be, which is a treat, right? And if you have it to look forward to, you'll appreciate it more when you can eat it too. It's going to make you more mindful of taking the time to enjoy those treats when you do them, right? And then to finish up, we have ice cream. Again, daily staple in many of our diets, but the damage it does is not great. So lowering the amount, again, quantity, or looking for some healthier options will help your body function better, make you feel better. I find yogurt with fruit toppings to be a pretty similar experience. I've got a recipe coming up here too, but many homemade versions of popsicles and ice cream too, which let's go to one of those homemade options. This one is a coconut and mixed berry popsicle. Super easy. Look at those ingredients. Really simple ingredients. Mix them up. You got to get the molds, of course, but you can use ice cube trays too, however is easiest for you, but that's a good option as well. And then a spicy recipe. Curry roasted cashews have that great crunch, get a hint of spice, which is optional because if you're like me and I can't stand the heat, you don't have to put that in. And then there's just so many great ways to roast up nuts or chickpeas and things like that use natural flavors, right? That are just as tasty really as those processed snacks if we just try them. But get creative, do some research, find some snacks worth snacking on. All right, I know I'm running out of time here, but I want to chat about that hydration again. I already talked about coffee, so I want to talk about some other things. It's a really big opportunity, again, to cut out some of those extra sugars and things, really because one regular soda per day can double or almost triple your recommended added sugar intake. So using a carbonated water, it still gives you a little bit of fizz, and there's flavored options out there as well. But again, just watch out for added sugars and things like that. Infused water with fruit. So instead of all those juices that are basically just a dozen pieces of actual fruit and they just take the sugars out of it. So we don't want that huge dose, even if it is natural sugar. Try just infusing your water with fruit. There's specific water bottles that do infusing as well. And then sports drinks. That's tough because for the regular person, plain water is going to hydrate you fine. But if you're out in the sun and sweating for long periods of time, or if you're an elite athlete, this might be different. You may benefit from some of those drinks, but something like regular water or even like a coconut water can hydrate most people while giving a bit of electrolytes like potassium and things like that to help replenish. So just be mindful of those sports drinks. And then again, I talked about eating out a couple times here, but I want to touch on a few more tips before we finish up. We don't need to avoid eating out, but most of us can probably make some healthier decisions. Let's be honest, right? Again, we're not looking for perfection, just some small things to make our experience a little bit easier. So looking at the menu ahead of time, so you don't have to look at it and you're not tempted by something else, right? Looking for terms like steamed, grilled, roasted, or poached, rather than fried, crispy, crunchy, those types of things. Ordering water versus a sugary drink, skipping the bread, or maybe cutting it in half if you still want it. Getting dressings on the side to limit the amount. Ordering a healthier side, especially if your main dish might not be super great. Splitting an entree with someone, or asking for the to-go box right away, so you can put half of your food in there so you can have it for lunch the next day. Saves money too. Look at what you're ordering next time you eat out or order out. See if you can find one small change to make. And then just to wrap it up, food is fuel for our bodies. Like I said, your body's going to function better if you add better fuel. It's a simple concept. And I fully believe we should enjoy food. Food is fantastic, but our life shouldn't revolve around food, right? We should eat to live, not live to eat. So just be mindful, look for a small, healthy change to make here and there, and keep everything simple. All right, that's all I got for you today. Stick around. I will stick around here for a few extra minutes to answer questions because I know I went right up to the time. But here's our upcoming webinars. Next month is on sleep, so important. And then kind of building on this one, we're going to do some meal prepping in September and just some different ways, kind of some hacks to do to get our busy lives back on track with some more healthy options. And then if your company does lifestyle rewards, most of you will not have this option, but if you do have questions that pop up to submit, if you're watching for the webinar, these are going to be what it is. Again, I try to make them pretty simple, but those will pop up for you. And then here's our contact information. We are on all of the social media pages. We add recipes, we add tips and stuff. So make sure you follow us. And then the blog, that's where you're going to find this webinar recording. You'll be able to download the recipes if you want to, and you can register for upcoming webinars as well. And then if you do want to chat specifically with a coach for more specific questions, you can give us a call and you can email us anytime. All right, thanks everyone for joining, and I'm going to stop the recording and